For millions of years, humanity has not been able to exploit the Arctic. But as our planet continues to get warmer and temperatures skyrocketing, ice caps are rapidly melting, and in the process, the Arctic's underground is becoming exposed and approachable more than it has ever been. Although it is extremely dangerous, it is also valuable. The Arctic Circle is estimated to contain over 160 billion barrels of oil and at least 30% of the planet's undiscovered natural gas. Because of its untouched enormous wealth, everyone wants a piece of this melting Arctic. Coming up when Asinga Unfolds, the race for the affluent Arctic. The industrial hike of the early 1900s boosted human activity mostly in Europe and North America. Carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions have been rising temperatures across the globe. Throughout recent decades, peculiar temperatures have been recorded to be higher each year than it was the year before. Deserts getting hotter, grasslands turning into deserts, the tropics losing wildlife, and as temperatures get higher even in the poles, glaciers continuously melt and carve off into the sea, which raises water levels over years. Over and over again, atmospheric scientists including glaciologists say that human activities are at the root of this phenomenon. If you want to know more about global warming, a link to that specific video will be down in the description or a pop-up card up here. Now, it has always been frightening to learn about the melting glaciers in the Arctic Ocean, but not anymore. As much as it is terrifying to see this post-apocalyptic ocean, it is also overwhelming, mostly if you look at what this glacier collapse has to offer. I mean, it's not just the fossil fuels. Without the Arctic ice, we are looking at new land, new fishing grounds, and new shipping routes. This is why China and the United States are leading numerous other countries in a race to dominate and control this managed space. Unfortunately, beyond the riches and occupation lies dreadful possibilities. For example, what if extracting those fossil fuels will worsen the heating of our planet? Or what if glacial obliteration and higher temperatures drastically drive up sea levels? These are all possible outcomes of what is now unstoppable. But to understand how dangerous this is, we have to know how and why the Arctic is important to us in our planet. In many of its importances, the Arctic is a home to the iconic polar bear and over 4 million people. It has also helped so much when it comes to keeping our world's climate in balance. Sitting at the top of our planet, the Arctic sea ice is also this huge white reflector. It bounces much of the sun's rays back into space, which helps to keep the Earth's temperature even. As per Museum of Natural History, one of the most dangerous ways in which we would be affected by the melting Arctic is the rising sea levels and the harsh global warming. Scientists from tens of countries have been working together towards the same goal, investigating climate changes in the Arctic, which kinda sounds good. The problem is, when it comes to economic interests, that spirit of cooperation dies, as regional powers shift from working towards universal benefits to claiming as much land as each possibly can. The rivals include Finland, the US, Russia, Sweden, Iceland, Greenland, Norway, Canada, and China. In 1996, all of these countries formed a pact to promote collaboration, coordination, and interaction via an intergovernmental forum known as the Arctic Council. The high-level organization forum addresses issues faced by the Arctic governments and its indigenous people. More than half of the Arctic coastline is Russian territory, where almost half the population of the entire Arctic region lives. The rest of the coastline belongs to Greenland, which is part of Denmark, the United States with Alaska, Norway, Canada, and Iceland. According to the international law, Each of these countries has an exclusive economic zone of up to 200 nautical miles from their respective coastlines. And the Arctic region beyond those boundaries, including the North Pole, is agreed to be a common heritage of all mankind. This particular area therefore is meant to be held in trust for future generations and should be protected from any form of exploitation by either nations nor corporations. Despite that, Arctic countries can still apply to extend their exclusive economic zones, as defined by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Nations wishing to have larger exclusive economic zones will have a period of 10 years from the date of ratification to make claims of continental shelf extensions. To achieve this, however, a state must present to the Commission on the limits of the continental shelf with geological evidence that their shelf effectively extends beyond the stated 200 nautical miles limit. As of today, countries like Denmark, Norway, Russia and Canada have already done that, presumably for when the melting ice opens up all those economic opportunities. It is obvious that having a stronger presence in the Arctic is so important now than it has ever been, and all these governments are aware of that. The Arctic Grab Structure Plan has elevated geopolitical tension amongst rival candidates, mostly between NATO and the biggest Arctic coastline owner, Russia, as these countries race each other for the Arctic strategic importance. Military activity has also tripled in the north. This is more visible if one looks at Russian simulating attacks on Norwegian targets or NATO targets, and in response, NATO carrying out large-scale exercises which are known to combine military forces from several countries. These contests of military strength are already revealing so much about potential future conflicts. Just like many other beneficial conflicts, this is more about oil and gas money. Russia alone stretches over 53% of the Arctic Ocean coastline. So how much money can be seen in its largest protected wilderness? Let's talk about the Great Arctic State Nature Reserve, an area covering over 41,000 square kilometers. This is the largest reserve of Russia and Eurasia, as well as one of the largest in the world. The Russian massive oil project in this region known as Vostok Oil expects 6 billion tons of oil and 2 trillion cubic meters of natural gas. This project promises new airports, marine terminals, and more than 800 kilometers of pipeline if the Arctic is melted enough to ship out via the Northern Sea Route. The problem here is, since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in early 2022, the Vostok project has lost its investors and access to Western oil and gas tech, including services. This means the project might see 1. A delay, or 2. Scaling back entirely. As the Russian future in the Arctic meets crippling challenges, a door for distant opportunists opens wide, and the first country to walk through it is none other than China. The tech giant has so much to offer, from money to its knowledge, which some say that without it, it is impossible for many countries to operate in the Arctic. So why is China so interested in the Arctic? The world's top manufacturer is expecting resources to boost its economic growth, which is based on heavy industry. That means that China will do anything to get a share on the Arctic mineral resources and energy. The country tops the list when it comes to manufacturing worldwide. According to the United Nations Statistics Division, the country makes up almost 30% of the total global manufacturing output. Because of this reason, China embarked on a global infrastructure development strategy in 2013 to invest in nearly 150 countries and international organizations. This mega project is known as the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. The Arctic is also part of China's ever-expanding Belt and Road Initiative, part of which is dubbed the Polar Silk Road. The BRI is an effort to develop an expanded interdependent market for China, grow China's economic and political power, and create the most favorable conditions for China to build a high-tech economy. All these achievements will cost China billions of dollars in building a vast network of highways, railways, and ports to allow the country transport goods and resources around the world. From everything you know now, do you think there is still a future for the Arctic? Some of the Arctic countries are slowing down and others have stopped oil and gas developments. In 2016, the Canadian government announced a ban on issuing new offshore oil and gas licenses in Canadian Arctic waters, a decision that was made unilaterally and declared the ban indefinite. In July 2021, Greenland dropped all plans for future oil exploration on environmental grounds, and later in November, the government banned oil drilling. The US suspended oil and natural gas leases on public lands and waters in efforts to curb planet-warming carbon emissions. It is difficult to say if other Arctic players will join this trend because pressure is growing to drill as a way to secure energy supplies. And it's not just the pressure alone. The Arctic's presumed huge gas and oil resources sound so tempting. To the indigenous groups that make up half the town's population, including most of the surrounding communities, this is a real threat on an ecologically intact Arctic habitat. But toxic substances from oil and gas can devour such fragile ecosystems, meaning people will no longer reliably hunt, harvest, or fish the foods that usually sustain them throughout the year. As the ice continues to melt, marine traffic is skyrocketing, which is accompanied by wastewater discharge, pollution, which affects and damages sea life. Despite its dire state, the Arctic may still see survival, only if rehabilitated and facilitated. The Arctic Council has sought to minimize negative impacts on coastal communities and the marine society by suggesting defined shipping routes, moving away from fossil fuel-powered transportation on land and sea, which can help reduce or entirely eradicate black carbon pollution, connecting existing marine protection areas, and even establish new ones in close cooperation with the indigenous people. The downside here is number 1. These are only suggestions, and it's up to each state which action is taken. Number 2. There is no permanent laws to protect the Arctic from oil and gas drilling. But once again, the good thing is there are many major businesses that are already moving away from oil and gas. Giants such as Aviva, Allianz, and Munich Re. Remember, for new oil and gas fields, it takes an average of 16 years to reach maximum production. So for investors and banks, allocating money into Arctic oil and gas projects is now a gamble when one estimates how much more profitable renewable energy will be in the near future. I really consider asking ChatGPT for some solutions on this one. And if ChatGPT is new to your ears, watch this next video to learn all about it.